That's why they will see them. If not, we'll be police people, they will see them.
That's just that, no. That's not witness. There's no one that do that, no. That one people that they know. No one. No, that one. Okay, no.
People are wicked. Just put that in mind, because this story is one of those stories that will make you wonder, who can you trust? And also, a 17-year-old boy is in big soup just because he was told to dig a grave and had no idea what he was getting into. Around the 7th of May 2025, a man by the name of Ndinga Protus was lured by his employee to his own land, where he was brutally murdered in the most painful way you can imagine, and then buried in a shallow grave. This was said to have happened in Limbe, northwest region of Cameroon. Ndinga was said to be a businessman. He's married to a white woman and had about 3 beautiful children. He had a quarry and had multiple lands. This man was doing well for himself. He also had a trusted employee by the name of Judge Abel, who was his site supervisor. They were cool. Ndinga trusted Abel because they've also lived together. So Abel was not just somebody who comes to work. Abel lived with him in his home with his wife. So this man knows about Ndinga's business in and out. And because of that, it made him very dangerous. This is also why you don't get too close to your employees. Like, let your employees be your employees. If anything, give them their own quarters. There's no need for your employee to be living with you, no matter how tight the friendship is. All the while George is living with Ndinga and his family, he is planning on how to better his own life. He is planning on the best way to be rich. And his first thought was to sell one of the lands that Ndinga owned. And he knew about this land because other people have also been trying to buy the land from Ndinga. So George knew that people were putting money on this land. George knew that Ndinga wanted to sell this land. So he too had eyes for this land because the money for this land would change his life. Land was said to be worth around 35 million sefa, and Ndinga was looking to sell it. And so Abel hired a group of boys. They went to some part of that land. He paid a random boy along with a 17-year-old boy who was just looking for something to do to earn money, and told them to dig a hole that would look like a grave. And they dug the grave. And while he was there, he called Ndinga on the phone and told him, come over, somebody wants to buy the land, and while you're coming, come with the documents because this person means business. And obviously, Ndinga trusted Abel. This is somebody that is a trusted employee who also lives in his house and who also knows that he has been looking for the highest buyer for this land. And now that Abel is claiming to have seen somebody and the person was at the land waiting, Ndinga did not even think twice. He got up from the bed, quickly picked up the document, and was about to leave the house when his wife was like, hold on, you're going to see a buyer for your land, but you've not met this buyer before. What is the point of going with the documents? Like, go there first and see what the buyer has to say before you go with the document. And the wife made him drop the document, and so he went alone. All the while, Abel is waiting for him, thinking he was going to come with those documents because that was what he needed, those documents. But unluckily for him, he did not show up with those documents. However, he did not realize that the document was not with him until he had physically attacked him. Out of nowhere, Ndinga comes to the landed property. He's looking for the buyer. There's a strange man there. He's talking to Abel. Before he knows it, somebody out of nowhere used the hammer on his head. Ndinga is on the floor, begging for his life, and at this point he knew that something was off because he was looking to Abel to step in, not knowing that Abel was in on it. They held this man down and brutally killed him and threw him in the grave that they had already dug earlier the day before. After killing Ndinga Protus, Abel searched the guy's pocket and no documents. And that was when he knew he was screwed. So his plan gone, wasted. I mean, you lived in his house. If you really wanted those documents, why not steal it? Why lure the man to kill? Well, he may not even know where the documents were before he would search the house and may have caught him. But the point was, when he saw that Ndinga was not with the document and he had already killed him, the only thing left for him to do was to steal Ndinga's vehicle and look for where to sell it. Because now he didn't calculate his plan very well. He's so stupid. He picks up the vehicle and starts driving towards Douala. All the while, Ndinga's wife is at home, trying to reach him but could not. He's not taking his call, and immediately she knew something was up. Went straight to the police, reported a missing person, and then the police got on it to do their job. Maybe they acted very fast because she's a white woman. But I digress. Instantly, the police were on it, looking for Ndinga, and they started the search. The police asked her a few questions as to who was most likely the last person to have seen him alive. And she's mentioned Abel, because the wife was aware that he was going to see Abel, who had called him to come and see a buyer at the land. And now they're looking for the Abel. They collected the number from the wife because the wife knows Abel, because Abel lives in the house also. So she quickly gave them the phone number. On the flip side, Abel is driving Ndinga's vehicle on his way to sell it when he had an accident. So God has a way of punishing these murderous, evil bastards. He got into an accident. The other driver that he jammed cars with came down to confront him, and he was like, "Oh, excuse me, sorry, let me call my boss." And that was how Abel ran away on foot. When Abel did not return back to the accident crime scene, the other driver called the police. The police came, they searched the vehicle. They were able to find out that the owner of the vehicle was Ndinga's wife. They contacted her, and she came there and saw the vehicle and told the police the same thing that she has been telling the other group of policemen, that yeah, this is the vehicle our husband drove to where he had gone to sell land and he's not there, and the car is missing and he's not taking his calls. And she believes that Abel was the one who drove the car to this point. They basically gave the description of the person that drove the car and it matched with Abel. So at this point, the police knew who they were looking for. It's Abel. Where is Abel? The police kept tracking Abel's phone. At this point, Abel knew that they were onto him, so he started hiding. The story was already going viral, and people knew who they were looking for. Like, he could not hide for long. After some days, Abel was caught and arrested. And immediately Abel was caught and arrested, he confessed to all the other people who played a role in the killing of Ndinga, all the people he had hired, all the people he had employed, even the ones who dug the grave, which included a 17-year-old boy, the one wearing a white polo. And according to what we are hearing, this boy knows nothing of the murder. He was just somebody who was looking for something to do, to make money. And they called him and told him, just dig a grave or just dig a hole that would look square. And he dug it, he got paid, and he went home. Only now he's learning that the hole was used to bury a man that somebody had orchestrated to kill. All of a sudden, he's involved. And his story is really sad and unfortunate, but well, that is what happened when you go do a job and you have no idea what you were doing. Abel George eventually took, along with all the other criminals who assisted him in killing Ndinga, took the police to the land site where they buried Ndinga, and his body was exhumed. And it was a sad day in the community, a painful thing to see, an unfortunate incident. And right now, it's a good thing that they've been caught and they will face the full extent of the law. However, a lot of the discussion is surrounding the 17-year-old boy. Many people are debating whether or not he was fully aware, whether or not he was coerced to participate, whether or not he knew what was going on. Some sources are saying he only dug the grave and that was it. Some sources are saying after he dug the grave, he was called back to bury the man, which if that is the case, then I don't know, he's pretty much as involved as it is. Because if you dug the grave and you stood there, that means you knew something was happening. But if you had dug the grave and you left and went home, why are they calling you back to bury it? These are like, there were already 3 grown men there already, so those men could easily cover it. I can get you being called to dig a large hole, but if you had gone home and they called you back, then I don't know, you're among, you follow. But if indeed he did not know about the whole situation, because another source is also claiming that the boy, when he was called back to cover the hole, he was threatened not to say anything. I guess these are things that have to be proven in courts. I guess so. That is why we go to courts. That is why we have courts and the law. I hope he's as innocent as he claims, but is he really innocent though? This time, you see, these things can be really tricky. People are looking for money. People are poor. People are looking for anything to do. Sometimes you might be called to just set up something. Sometimes you can just be in your house and someone will tell you, please let me buy a knife. And you buy the knife for your neighbor and your neighbor ends up using that knife to kill somebody. The fact that you bought the knife sort of implicates you. This young boy was just walking around and they gave him a job to dig a large hole. And he's like, why not? He digs the hole and now he's involved in murder. I just hope the law goes lenient on him, given that, first of all, even if he participated in however little form he did not orchestrate it. He did not have any conversation with any of the other killers about it. The other people knew that they were coming there to kill and beat and murder somebody to collect landed properties. This 17-year-old boy may not have known as much, and I think that should count for something. That should count for something. At most, do 1 year, or if he wasn't in the murder process, because this is not something that just happened instantly. This is something that Abel Judge has been planning for weeks or months. So Abel had pre-planned it, and that makes his own contribution to this murder case first degree, because he had planned it. The other people just as much, they had planned it. Now for this random stranger who do not know any of the others, it's hard to say it's first degree murder unless the others can say that for a fact the 17-year-old boy knew what was going on the whole time, and that changes everything. That's why you got to be careful the kind of jobs you pick, the kind of jobs they call you to do. Sometimes some people just get called and you're like, oh, come, I have a job for you, and you don't know why you're even there. You do little bits of things and they tell you to go home, they will take it from there, and you don't even know what they want to use it and do. Sometimes they can call you to come and mix a concussion. Sometimes they can call you to come and dig a hole, like in this case, or sometimes they can call you to just bring a poison that they say they want to use for rats and for other wild animals or pests, and the people you're working for end up using it to commit crime, and somehow, some way you're involved. And this also reminded me of something that happened to me when I was in secondary school. Oh yes, let me just chip in this, because this is my personal story and it's similar to this but not as bad. I didn't kill anybody. So when I was in secondary school, in my JSS2 or so, I remember this incident that happened where I was on my way to the dining hall and I felt like urinating. So there's a lot of students going to the dining hall, and I remember blotting out that I want to pee. And then this group of boys, up to no good, heard me saying that I want to pee. And the next thing I know, they presented me with a bucket full of sand, junks, mud, toothpaste, all sort of concoction. And they were like, pee here, that they were trying to do an experiment. And I mean, I was 10 years old, 9 years old, I don't know how old I was then. I peed in the bucket. And that was all I did. I went about my day. I went to the dining hall. Nothing came to my head. 2 days later, I was called out in the assembly ground and flogged in front of the whole school, because it turned out that those boys had used that bucket of concussion and splashed it on a girl for her birthday, because that's what they do back in the day in boarding school. They'll pour you water and pour you all sort of dirt. So they poured that girl that bucket of concussion, and she went to the hostel smelling like pee. And God, I feel bad for her. It was a terrible thing. If I knew that that was what they were going to do, I would never have participated. It was so gross and disgusting. But you see, I still got punished for it. I still got punished because my only involvement was just to pee in the bucket, and I had no idea that that was what they were going to do. They told me it was for an experiment, some kind of agricultural thing, manure concoction. I don't know whether they were trying to make the Powerpuff Girls with Chemical X. I had no idea what they wanted to do with it, but it did not occur to me that that was what they were going to do with it. And at the same time, it did not absolve me from the implications of what they did still. It did not absolve me from being punished for the end product they did with that bucket. Like, rightfully so, yes, I deserve to get punished. Maybe I wished I had explained myself and they would have understood better. But that is how life is. That is what happens and what is happening now. This young boy may not have known what he was doing. I may not have asked. He probably may not have cared. All he wanted to do was work and get paid. And now here he is. And many people do this a whole lot. We see this with people who even buy phones from random people, and all they want to do is buy a new phone. You're just trying to get a new phone and not knowing that the phone that you're buying from this person, the owner, had been murdered, robbed, raped, killed, and now you're with the phone, and now it includes you. Now you're arrested along with it. It's such a tricky thing. It's a very tricky slope. You got to be careful and particular about the things you do, the kind of jobs you take, so that you don't end up playing a role that you had no idea that you are participating in a bigger picture where it includes somebody getting murdered. And that is how it is. It's unfortunate, it's unfair, but that is how life is now. We all got to be careful. Just be careful. Make sure you ask the right questions. And if you don't feel good, if you don't look right, if something is off somewhere, then leave. Personally, the moment that boy starts to dig and then he realizes that this hole is starting to look like a grave, he should have been gone, or he should have not have even come back. Because if he had to come back and bury the man, then he pretty much participated. But if all he did was dig the hole and go back home, I guess the court will be lenient. I guess the court will be fair to him, and I hope they are, because it's such a rookie mistake. It's unfortunate. You guys let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and turn on the notification button so whenever there is a new video, you'll be the first to get notified. So around the 16th of April 2025, something strange happened in Kenya, in Kiambu County, in a village known as Ngorongo Village, where two young ladies from that town died mysteriously, and the killer turned out to be somebody nobody could have ever imagined. The first victim was a young lady called Rosemary Njeri Ndeke. Rosemary, on the 15th of March, had gone to see her boyfriend in another village. And that was the last time anyone saw Rosemary, alive at least. She became a missing person. She never got to this friend's house. And when they tried to reach her on phone, they couldn't. Rosemary had disappeared. Eventually, her body was found at a plantation, and it was clear that she had been sexually assaulted, beaten, her mobile phone had been stolen, and it was said acid had been used to douse on her and was left in a coffee plantation to decay. When her body was found and identified, the police began their investigation. Her family retrieved the body and brought her back home to the village for burial. Everyone in the community were heartbroken. Everyone in the village cried. The community boys even offered to dig the grave for free. They helped organize this burial and made sure that Rosemary got a befitting burial while they waited for the police to do their job. That same month, another young lady from that community by the name of Helen Wambuyu was sent on an errand to go withdraw money for her mother, some sort of POS shop. The money was intended to be used to buy food for what the family would eat that day, the 30th of March 2025. And that was how Ellen disappeared. Only God knew where she went. Did she run away with the money? Did she run away with her boyfriend? Nobody saw Ellen. She just popped into thin air. 2 days later, on the 1st of April, her body was found in a bush not very distant from her house. Another heartbreak in the community. Who was killing these young girls and who would be next? Ellen's burial was prepared for. Community boys showed up again. Everything was done for the family. And while they waited for the police, who at this time were still investigating Rosemary's death. And now they had to investigate Ellen's death. After days of investigating, finding out who these people went to meet, Rosemary's boyfriend was arrested multiple times because he was the last person that saw Rosemary. And he was the person telling them that he escorted her to another community. Many people suspected the boyfriend. But now to see that Ellen has disappeared in the same manner and her body has been found in the same situation, it was now looking like something was brewing, something was happening. It made the police almost believe that it was the same person who may have killed Rosemary that had killed Ellen. And just like that, they were able to trace Rosemary's phone to a young man named Samuel Kamau. The police just showed up in Samuel's house one day and they told him that, yeah, we traced the girl's phone to your house, which means you may have been one of the only few people to have seen these two girls because their mobile phones were traced to your house. Lo and behold, when the villagers learned that the police had made an arrest for Rosemary's killer, they could not believe their eyes. They could not believe it was Samuel Kamau. Even Rosemary's parents were shocked. They recognized Samuel to be part of those community boys who were coming crying with the family and even helping digging the graves of these young ladies. This man was in the burial of Rosemary. He helped the family dig the grave. He cried with the family. He swore that they were going to find the killers. He was one of the boys agitating that the police do something. And while he was in custody, he also confessed to killing Ellen and even showed them the pit toilet where he had dropped their phone. And I think it was the pit toilet where the phone was that the police were able to trace the mobile phones to, which ended up turning out to be his own house. He was also there during Helen's burial, part of the people who dug the grave. How do you kill two young women, show up at their funeral, and help dig the grave? Wow. Some people just have the mind of the devil. Like, you just can't convince me otherwise. The devil is no longer in hell. The devil is back on earth. Because, are you kidding me? If he hadn't been caught, I bet that he would have done that to another young lady again. Apparently, he traced these two girls to wherever they were. He traced them to where they were going. He trailed them. This was not a one-off. It was something that he had them on their target and followed their movements and eventually accosted them privately to a point where no one would see him and her. And that was where he would strike, kill them, take their phone, and sexually abuse them before using acid to disfigure their body. Because for him to come prepared with them acid and all of these things, he knew what he was coming with. It's one thing to follow a girl and then something happens and then you do what you do and then you leave. But for you to follow a young lady and you have acid ready in your beck and call, then it was clear all the while that that was what you intended to do. He was arrested and was eventually arraigned in court, pending his judgment. This is just crazy. Hopefully, people just be more alert, because sometimes the killers do attend the funerals of their victims.
Hello guys, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you're watching from. So on the 13th of April 2025, a 43-year-old woman identified as Sharon Bino Mungisha was said to have been arrested by the Ugandan police somewhere around Kaningawan village in Ruengwe sub-country for the killing of her husband, late Mr. Bino Mungisha. So it was said that that fateful day, Bino Mungisha came back from work as usual. Probably he had his meal, he has had his bath, and went to bed not knowing what he did to his wife, because it wasn't stated that they had an official conversation to say, okay, you did this and you did not do that. But while this man was sleeping, his wife, Mrs. Sharon, picked out a sledgehammer with which she struck the husband in the head, killing the husband. And after she killed her husband with the sledgehammer, she wrapped his body in a blanket and further wrapped it with a bed sheet and a tarpaulin. She dug a shallow grave inside their bedroom and buried the husband. Now, after she buried the husband there, she covered the body and further sealed it with a tarpaulin. Meanwhile, before burying the husband, it was said that she sent their 13-year-old son to go to the family shop along the roadside and stay there after school so the boy wouldn't understand what was going on. So that was how she successfully buried the husband. So the family and friends of Mr. Bino Mungisha started asking questions because they were no longer seeing him around. They were no longer seeing him going to work. So they started asking the wife. They became suspicious. They started asking the wife where he went to, about his whereabouts. The wife said he got a job offer. A construction company gave him a job in South Sudan. That was where he went to, and he's working very hard to provide for the family. He's working very hard to make sure they are okay, to make sure they live a comfortable life. At first, they were buying the story. When they discovered the thing has prolonged, like it has taken too much time, and they were not even hearing from him. It's not like while he's working, he's calling his family members. Of course, he has family. Even if you travel and you're working, you should be calling your family, you should reach out to your family. But none of his family members were aware of the job, aside his wife, which made them suspect that something was wrong. So they had to involve the police. So the police came to the compound, they came to their house to search. While the police were conducting their search, that was where they discovered the tarpaulin that was covered there. And the way the tarpaulin was covered, it was fishy that something was inside there, and that was how they dug the body and arrested her. So far, the police are yet to release an official statement. However, with the investigation conducted so far, they believe that the reason for the killing has to do with a concealed truth or betrayal. But while we wait for the police to come out with an official statement, to release an official statement as to the reason why she killed him, what do you think about the story? What is your own take on the story? What is your opinion? What do you think could be the major reason why she killed him, and what sort of punishment do you feel the law should give to her? I will still emphasize on the need to be very careful. Please, let's be very careful, the people we settle down with. If you see any sign, any red flag, if you are dating this person and you see a red flag, you see a tendency of violence, intense anger, the person is really violent towards you, my darling, please don't go into that marriage. There are other women out there, there are other men out there. Don't risk your life and go into a marriage that the partner is very violent and the partner has every likelihood of causing you harm in the future. Please, let's just be very careful, and don't forget to share this video. Have a great day. Bye bye.